And we're live. So saith. Well, damn. Here I am in the green room of my wonderful Nightmare Novellas Live-Sniff, awaiting the arrival of fellow nightmares to smell them with, some of whom may already have these perfume oils at home in their very possession. Since no one is here yet, I have a little time to straighten up the place. That's better. And make myself comfortable. Wore something nice and breathable to help with the airflow problem. Well, hi there. It's me, Tom, from the lab, and I'm on a quest this fall as we dig into Halloween 2024. The moment, the future, that we've all been waiting for our whole lives is finally here. And then we've released 10 kajillion fragrances. And I am honor-bound this time to smell every goddamn one of them, live, unvarnished, somewhat varnished. I have my biases as a scent person. For example, I work for Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab, the company that made these very perfume oils. And in many instances, I have helped co-design some of the fragrances. And in many instances, I haven't. But like, also on top of that, I'm a human with my own shortcomings and prejudices and fragrance biases. So there are some things that I'm going to get very excited about that others just won't give a fuck about at all. And also there's just stuff, it's hard for me doing this knowing that there are subtleties in a lot of fragrances that I completely miss out on because of just my own, where I'm at in my fragrance journey. So that's what makes it hard when I have, for example, 10 Nightmare Novellas perfume oils to sniff in hopefully about an hour, which is already just sailing past. I can see the counter. Every minute that goes by is a minute that I didn't get to smell something. So I'm determined to make these easier on the viewing public, my fellow Nightmare Americans and Nightmare Planet Earthians, and just kind of keep it moving. So now I've got 3 people here with me, and I can no longer justifiably pretend that I'm sitting alone in a room talking to myself with a small companion animal situated in a crate just on the other side of that wall, probably hearing every word that I'm saying. So I'm gonna just dig right in. The Nightmare Novellas are a perfume series that we invented for last year's Halloween release. We work with Drew Roush a lot. Drew's a wonderful artist, and he has been creating a lot of our Lunacy labels, and here and there, periodically, oh, hello, someone jumped in live right now. I see you, I acknowledge you. You're live, I'm live. If you die, I won't know about it, probably. But if I die, everyone will know. And hopefully someone will come, a phone will die eventually, but it will all just get uploaded and you were here, you got to see it happen. Which feels like a fitting end for a middle-aged gothic perfume carny, and I won't even be mad about it. Anyway, my derail is, I'm now derailing the derail. We're back on the tracks. Drew does so many wonderful, like his specialty is Halloween, spooky times artwork. And this has ranged everywhere from like a vintage Halloween aesthetic to his own like crazy pants aesthetic. Last year, a lot of the stuff that he was doing was kind of in the vein of the scary stories to tell in the dark style illustrations. We've been compiling like stuff that he's been sharing over this past year. We went in, it was like a kid in a candy store opportunity to just like go and grab a bunch of stuff off the shelf. Drew drew this, Drew drew this, Drew drawed that, and make perfumes out of them for this series, which I like to think of is a kind of a scary stories style perfume series. We provide a kind of a we make up a little snippet of story text just for the perfume description to kind of suggest the possibility that this is an illustration from a story. And then Beth gets in there with her perfume mad scientist brains and makes something happen. And I like it this year as well as last because some of these are very distinctly horror-y. There are some really horror-y fragrances in the mix, and as opposed to some of the other like fun, cozy, sweet goodies that are lurking around elsewhere in the collection. So that's and then also last year we did do a one-page story contest where people could take any one of these illustrations and use that as a leaping off place, a springboard into writing their own short fiction. And then we read 11,000 of these, not literally, but it took a long time. And eventually we had a story contest winner. And we are, I want to say, planning to do something similar this year. We're going to wait a little bit until the fall vibes are falling a little harder and get into some story contest stuff. So as we posted on Instagram today, you are welcome to start looking at some of these scents and images and fantasizing about stories you want to write. You can write whatever you want. I actually could never have stopped you in the first place. Just know that we haven't posted the rules for that yet, and I don't know yet whether they're going to be the same as last year's rules, so you might want to know that before crafting like what you imagine to be like a contest entry for a contest that you're hoping to win. So that's the tea on the story contest, and I think with that off my chest, it's time to start smearing some oils on my body for a rapt audience of currently 7 people plus innumerable future viewers, possibly very far in the future, who are looking back and trying to figure out what in the world people were doing back then when it was still, when there was still oxygen to breathe. So I'm seeing comments, and I've learned from doing these live that the comments don't actually show up on the video where I can read them and tee-hee at length afterwards. So if I see what you say, I will do my best to tee-hee in person. But I'm just grateful people are here, and it's nice to be acknowledged, and I will do my best to reach out and acknowledge in kind. But let's be real. We have a lot of work to do today, and we are already 7 minutes and 45 seconds. I want to I gotta tape over that marker actually, maybe. And maybe just use my own personal exhaustion level as the ultimate metric of what constitutes a proper live, because watching the seconds just cascade past is just not the way I generally live. And without Galen as my brilliant editor, because we used to, when we did 15 minutes of fume, we would speak to the extent that we were able, and then he would edit and chop it down. And we're just not doing that right now. We don't have the time. Editing is a big deal. So I just have to do my best to fulfill the obligation, to stay on task, and to be entertaining, so that if this goes on a little longer than proved absolutely necessary, you still feel like you got to sit down with like the kind of lunchtime friend who tends to talk too much, but you still like them, maybe because they know about things that you are trying to find out. So that's what I have. I have the weenies hostage, and you know, I'm here to smell them for you, and in the meantime, you just have to put up with me. So, but if it helps, I'm blonde now, so there's like something. One has to do something. The very first one, I'm going to go through these alphabetically as they are in the collection, and unfortunately, pedantically, that means that everything with "the" in the title is at the end, which is not how I personally like to organize things. We're gonna roll with it, just so that we can, anyone watching this can just roll down the page of the Nightmare Novellas in the Halloween catalog, and you will note that I have 10 out of 11 of these bottles and not 11 of 11. So we're missing Sleight of Hand, which unfortunately is one that I was extremely interested in reviewing, and I will, when I get it in the mail, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, I will supplement like maybe a comment or something with just a little doohickey about how I thought it smelled. But we're starting with fuchsia eyes. And that, amazingly, alphabetically, we're starting with F. So that threw me. I thought there must be more. But actually, we're starting with F. I wish that I could show on the screen. I don't think it's going to be possible just how disturbo some of the artwork is here. This was one that leapt right out as like, oh yes, we have to fume her. A very unsettling stare from an unsettling, like, I'm vaguely feminine person. Really don't know what's going on here, but the eyes are in fact fuchsia, and so is the scent. Shocker. The text says the color and scent were indistinguishable and inescapable. Indistinguishable and inescapable. That right there is like just the way to be. The scent says blood-tinged raspberries oozing into globs of blackcurrant and red plum. So when I saw this, I admit I was like, I read this and I was like, okay, it's just gonna be sweet and fruity. Like, I want something scary, just to try to scare me a little. It's like my nephew, he so badly wants to be scared by something, and then if the scary actually happens, he's immediately out. Nope, nope, nope. And then if it wasn't scary, he's like, that wasn't scary at all. Ha! Like, he like conquered the spirit Halloween because he didn't like wet his pants, which I think is hilarious. So in the bottle, though, I have to say, what this reminds me of right off the bat is in the darkness as well as the fruitiness is the pomegranate ink that we did for Yule last year. In that it is like a really dark, rich red fruit with depths, like with frightening depths. So that was encouraging. I was like, okay, there's like a shadow cast over this scent for sure. That keeps it from being just a truly like juicy fruit glob explosion. And yeah, there's like a dry edge to it in the bottle, which I thought was pretty interesting. It's not like excessively bloody in the bottle. So imagine my surprise when I get it on the skin and it starts to, like, something really begins to materialize here. I want to say that it's not just blood because it really is almost like a skin tone also. But there is just kind of a strange, like, smear. Like, it's a bloody smear. The closest thing I can think of to compare it to is the tongue wall fragrance that we did for Dr. Caligari. I hope to maybe do a sniff through of those scents soon, because I don't remember if we did them before, but it's been enough time and the movie's on Shudder and it's worth some dipping back in, see how they're aging. But that one has the tongue wall has like a blood-tinged digestive juices quality to it, which I love. There's something here that is kind of like a weird, like bloody, almost like makeup-y kind of smear outline of like a human figure. And then it's just got these intoxicating, like dark fruits surrounding it that make it seem like almost a safe, nice thing that's happening. But I have to say, there is an unsettling air of danger in the fragrance. It's not like a super metallic blood, and I asked Galen to tell me if he thought that there was a dragon's blood component to the bloodiness of it, or if it was just more of the metallic-y blood. And I had already reached his threshold of how many times I could thrust my forearm into his face in one evening, so he demurred from responding. But I think there is like a bit of like a metallic edge, like maybe like a blood popsicle thing going on. But again, no citrus, and I think there's citrus in tongue wall also. So it's just like a kind of a deep red, bloody fruits muddle. So it's the kind of thing where, like, if the drink in real life looks almost like too gruesome to drink. It's just beautiful. I really do like it. We were watching Greg Araki's Nowhere last night, because Galen went to a screening of it here where he actually got to meet Greg Araki, and I actually had not seen the movie before, and he was showing it to me. And there was something about the the weird kind of like slapsticky violence in the movie, and then also having a little of the scent on, made it all very strangely real. So yeah, just kind of an interesting phantom of kind of um, like a kind of a cartoony, bloody thing that like might actually be dangerous, if that makes any sense. I did my best with Fuchsia Eyes. I love it. I'm interested in it, and I found it really hard to explain what was going on in it. But hopefully you will have enough reference in what I just said to give it a shot if you have the chance. I would give anything for HATMAN to be further along in the alphabet. Maybe he could be like that man, because confronting the HATMAN this early in the streaming, it just makes me profoundly uncomfortable. This was another one from the series of illustrations over the past year where I saw that and I thought, like, that belongs in our collection, because whatever Beth does with it will be completely correct, but also because this is like the kind of like truly nightmarish, like disturbing character. I don't know if people have seen like memes or creepypasta stuff about the HATMAN, who is kind of, I think, like a sleep paralysis demon figure, you know, like if you don't watch out, you'll see the HATMAN when you sleep, something like that. I might, sometimes I talk out loud to people about stuff that I saw online and they look at me like they're worried about me, because they realize that I have fallen into like weird internet tiger traps that they just like were completely unaware of until now, and they just like don't want this for me. But anyway, I know about the HATMAN. Galen, we joke about the HATMAN in our house because Galen loves coffee, but he drank matcha and had like one of the worst like sleep paralysis nightmares ever. And so now the joke around the house has been that when he drinks matcha, he sees the HATMAN. There's no matcha in the HATMAN scent. I didn't tell Beth that story ahead of making the scent because I didn't want to unnecessarily affect her interpretation, and it's not a very like matcha driven image. And in fact, the scent, the description, the story snippet says, the isolation had been dreadful, but anything was preferable to this. And the scent says, scarlet musk, red oud, opium poppy, and tobacco absolute. 4 heavy hitters, man. I do like with the opium poppy that there is kind of a nod to the like in between worlds, spheres of awareness quality that the HATMAN occupies. And then as for the rest, like, let me just say that dipping in here, this is like one of the stronger ouds that I have had the honor of smelling in a while. I have been on an oud journey. I forget what it was some years ago where it was a really stinky oud and I was like really interested and wanted to challenge myself. And since then, I have been dipping in, and a lot of oud forward fragrances do not have like the really indolic, like stinky oud smell. It's just like a particular, it just depends on the way that it's balanced and blended in the scent. This is the first one in a while to kind of actually like burn my nose hairs a bit. And I'm gonna have to like find a way to put it somewhere where I'm not going to be constantly encountering the HATMAN throughout the rest of this sniff. So maybe like, it's like everywhere is either too close or on the hands where I'm gonna have them in front of my face. Should I do it on the knee? Can I, it's like the HATMAN plays knick-knack on my knee. I'm wearing pants. I have shorts on. This is not below the waist nudity revealing itself. Don't make me prove it. I don't feel like it. I'm not getting up. It's not that kind of show. Okay, so I have the HATMAN on one knee. This is my life. So it's like you've got this like I I think it is the red musk and the tobacco gives like a familiar sweetness, which is welcome. But like, and that's like kind of the only thing like holding the oud at bay. The poppy, the opium poppy, is not really helping one way or the other. It's kind of like standing back, being like, "You're doing it wrong." I think the opium poppy, knows that the Hat Man is inevitable. He is imminent, and he will be in and out of here whenever he pleases. So I like this better now than I did last night. I had some on my arm last night because I kind of wanted to know how strong that was, just in terms of whether it would wreck my whole flow today. It has like a really strong, shadowy presence. There is kind of like a rich red blackness to it that is represented by the label art. I kind of like, for my personal preference, would have liked to have some leather or something in there to just distract me from how like right here the Hat Man is, you know? And someone, I think, just, and I saw in a comment about the darkness of the oil and even holding up the bottle. Like, yeah, like there's, he's in there. So if you're frightened of like swaggering indolic ouds, be afraid of the Hat Man. If you're curious, you just have to say his name 5 times in the mirror. And then Ted from the lab shows up and gives you a bottle. Just kidding. Also, if it was that easy to access Ted, I feel like there would never be any peace in the world anymore for almost anyone. So I do like that there's kind of like a familiar, gentlemanly, kind of like almost cologne-y sweetness about it, but the oud makes it like there's like a feral, like ferocious quality that is true storybook villain all the way, unmistakable. And I like the idea of cozying up to that, but I also need to be able to get away, which is why I put it on like, you know, a lower extremity. I could always just like chop that leg off if I have to and just throw it out the window. So now we're going to move on to one that I haven't tested. It's on my fingers, the Hat Man. The Hat Man on my fingers. We're going to move on to HALLOW. Lovely, beautiful. I feel like you can almost see these on the camera. Beautiful, frightening, dark, empty, gourd-headed, lurking figure. The HALLOW haunt has no gender, truly. You get a head, you get a body, and you get frightening, suffocating depths. I find this personally relatable in terms of gender fantasy. The scent story snippet says, "Their ears rang with that silent echo of spreading emptiness." What does that mean? I don't know. And then the fragrance. "A suffocating pumpkin kyphi soaked in dark red wine and darkened by vetiver, opoponax, and black oud." Nightmares. Who are my nightmare sufferers out there? This is a video where we can also talk about having nightmares, because I am a super chronic, lifelong, vivid nightmare sufferer who it doesn't verge into like night terrors where I wake up and I'm disoriented or can't wake up or whatever. Just, you know, just chronic, persistent, horrifying, stressful nightmares. And even my like less bad dreams are usually the kind of thing where if I told that to someone else, they'd be like, "Oh, that's awful. Wow, I can't believe you had that dream. What a nightmare." I'm like, "Oh, no. This was my night off." So I do find it actually, there's something really, I have a lot of my nightmares, or I did when I was younger, because of all the horror movies and horror stories and whatever that I was desperately trying to consume as many of as possible. And the artwork didn't help. There was accompanying illustrations in the old Edgar Allan Poe books that was just like more than any adult in my world would have wanted me to see. And I just, you know, sought it out on my own. And then, you know, suffered for years. So, but I do think that there's something really cathartic about exploring horror in fragrance and kind of also embodying it, which is what has made, like, you know, when I was younger, theater and acting was really exciting. Not that I really got to play any horrifying parts, but the whole idea that you could be called to like channel some darkness in a kind of a safe, controlled, artistic environment supported by other people. And then I think the weird thing about the BPAL world is there's just so much of that because we have so much contact regularly with artists and writers and um, just like people who are interested aesthetically in exploring that, often for their own very serious personal reasons. I just love it. It's just like a really lovely community vibe. So how's that for a wicked tangent? Because anyone who clicked the timestamp for Hallow pretty much had to listen to it. Does YouTube have the thing where you can listen to me talk twice as fast? Because that might make it better for when I go off, but maybe it's worse because then I'm like like, you know, it's like sped up chipmunk voices to make fun in a movie of how boring someone is, where you just fast forward it. If I talked slower now, those who instinctively clicked 2 times faster are now hearing me at my regular speed. So let's get into this. Suffocating. I'm alone in my apartment smelling a perfume that self-identifies as suffocating. Obviously, there's something wrong with me because I want this on a pillow over my face in my hospital bed immediately. Oh, that's gorgeous. It is kind of like a darker version of a BPAL that I can't really think of at the time. It's like one of like the cozier pumpkin smells, but it is definitely like on the more evil side. It's so funny. Beth wrote to me right now while I am describing perfumes to ask about my hotel situation for New York Comic Con, and I'm going to write her right now and say, I am currently live streaming and reading these messages out loud. I sent Chrissy my dates and can check on them when I'm done. And that is how the sausage is made. So she's typing. No, now she stopped. Okay, she's laughing. Okay, no problem. See, that's a supportive work environment. Okay, let's get it on the skin. In the past, I have complained about not doing wine scents very well, and then this past year, I got so into a couple of them that it really caught me off guard. So it turns out I don't know who I am. I don't know what I like. It's like kind of part of being in your 40s, I think. It's like, oh, all of that was someone else. This is me now. And it turns out that I like a suffocating pumpkin kyphi soaked in dark red wine. Thanks all the same. She says, hi people watching the live stream. Beth acknowledges you too. Tell us one of your worst nightmares. She's gonna block me. Okay, so there was like a really kind of like sweet pumpkin foodiness in the bottle that I was very interested in. And on the skin, it immediately informed me of its limits to hold back the suffocating abyss inside. That's so cool. It is much more about the darkness on the skin. It's like dark, goopy, and resinous, less sweet. It is like smoky. Maybe that's what's meant to be suffocating me. And then the black oud that I was like, you know, bracing for because of HATMAN, because of the HATMAN experience. is way, way tamed by this. And if anything, I just think it is just like cutting into the sweetness and imposing this kind of like rich, dark, almost like woody vibe. Really, really good. We didn't do the Shadowed Veil, which is a dark pumpkin incense that we have done in the past for weenies. We didn't do it this time. I love it. This is in that sphere of like dark pumpkin incenses, except for I think that one is kind of sweeter ultimately and a little more like seductive. And this one is like the pumpkins at the edge of the abyss. So Beth says, usually they involve dead people, but that's not the scary part. It's thinking that they're alive until I wake up and realize that they're not. So the wine is appearing kind of in the after phase. Like on the other side, there's a kind of like a dried wine stain. That's like, it's like a horrifying sacrifice occurred here 2 days ago. And you're here with like the ashes and the incense and the wine stain and like the scraped out pumpkin flesh. That's really cool. It has it does have a mystifying emptiness. I just have no idea how that happens. The pumpkin and the wine actually really play well together because the two form a cumulative almost sweetness that's very agreeable. It is weighed down by the rest of the stuff. Will wear again. Thank you, Hallow, for your service. That brings us to Jolly, which takes us in a whole different direction. Now, I believe from the artwork, it's hard to tell because it's ambiguous, but I believe from the artwork that there is almost a like Christmas and Halloween vibe to the artwork for Jolly. Like it looks like there might be snow falling in the background. It's really, or are those stars? What's not ambiguous is that the face on the pumpkin in the illustration is very jolly indeed. And jolliness is not a seasonal condition. Jolliness can strike whenever, wherever. And in fact, I am quite jolly right now, and it is not even October yet. The perfumes are helping. So, the scent, it says, it's kind of a weird childlike pumpkin figure grinning madly, and it says, the tone of her reply was lower than expected and more demanding. Whew. The scent is pumpkin cream, caramel-coated marshmallow, crushed candy corn, lemon peel, and belladonna honey. One of the things I like about some of these collections is that in terms of the aesthetic of Halloween, the color palette can often be so limiting. We think about what has been traditionally associated with Halloween over the years, and then like just like the black and orange and the purple and the green and like the variations people come up with. And even in a lot of the big stores like, you know, Michael's and Target and stuff, a lot of the stuff they're offering up now like more expanded color palettes just because I think they're recognizing that a lot of people want to keep this stuff up year round, and people's homes just don't all, even if you like spooky stuff, it's not all one color. And so but anyway, I like that even in these collections, we're digging into like broader striations of like different color palettes in the scent so that it's not all just like a happy orange pumpkin. Lemon peel, belladonna honey with marshmallow. This sounds incredible. I haven't even opened this yet. Oops, I just did. Oh, wow. I don't know when I have ever smelled anything quite like this. The immediate candy association I got is from those weird marshmallow, sugary marshmallow eggs that they make, or mostly used to make at Halloween, that have the kind of like marshmallow white sludge inside, and then they've got that kind of like external candy coating, and it's just like, I don't know, they're kind of horrendous, but I will eat like 7 of them and then have to take a nap. However, what we've got here is like with the pumpkin and caramel, that takes us like really comfortably into like the cozy zone. There's something about the sharpness of the lemon peel and the belladonna spookiness kind of inserted into the treat that makes this seem like vaguely unsettling, like don't eat it. It starts to ping my like, now, we don't want to go to the hospital. Just like a really, really rich, pale, playful, spicy pumpkin. It's got, I think it's the belladonna, maybe. It reminds me a little bit of the witch milk from last year, just in that same vein of like, this is not, there is like something afoot in this treat. Oh, it's just wonderful. It's like light and bright and pale and floofy, and then it has this like kind of weird, like, it's like the old like THX audio like chord of doom happening behind it, but it just like keeps that smile on its face the whole time. Very sweet, very innocent. And I will have to say, as I'm wearing it, even just over the past couple of minutes, that belladonna aspect is, if anything, kind of just like growing, blooming on the skin. And the pumpkin cream that was so forward in the bottle is like retreating a bit to a safe distance. And it is just not as safely gourmand as I thought it would be, which is so cool. There's like a decided chill to it tonally. Very neat. I wore my candy corn bird skull earrings that I think I got from Scullery Rocks some years back, and I have so few occasions to wear them. And I don't think when I wear them that anyone thinks that they're bird skulls. They just look like nice big candy corns, or maybe teeth. Wow, okay, so poisoned treats. Beautifully pale poisoned treats in Jolly. Now, that brings us to leaf spirits, and this will be, after we finish this, that's like the halfway point of the live stream. Hound of the Baskervilles down there. Leaf spirits. We've got your, just your typical nightmare about bizarre leafy giants, like stompling through your quiet neighborhood. And it says, the cost of protection proved to be more than any one person could pay. So, again, I have no idea. I have no idea what that means. I believe that the leaf spirits would protect me and that we would be able to work out the cost just fine. The story suggests possibly otherwise. I've got like an annoying dog hair. The scent. Oh, but what about the scent? The scent is smoky vetiver, flaming sparks of black pepper, clove, and nutmeg, charred wood, and dark amber. I know for a lot of people who are dead leaf seekers, this is like a kind of an instant buy probably because of everything here going on. And I'm here to tell you that that is correct. Just like a really heavy leafy scent, like right in the bottle. There is like and like I get the char, and that is so nice. I love that for me. The amber is giving it like a lovely sunset glow. Like you got that good horror movie sunset woods glow. And then I was about to say that there's something kind of like sharply like poking, like that keeps it from being like too comfortable. And of course I look over and the first thing that is like, it's like flaming sparks of black pepper. And it's like, well, yeah, what did you think that would feel like? Well, that's what it feels like. It's like beautiful and warm and rich, but it has like its own kind of like forbidding, like overcast quality. So I'm gonna put some of that on right now, which I haven't tried this one before, so I'm excited. Excited. Okay, so in right away on the skin, the very first thing that I got was like the pepper and charred wood. It's like it was just waiting to be asked out of the bottle. It's like a real I Dream of Jeannie situation, except for the genie in question is the leaf spirits, and they're not going back. They're not going back in. Everything that I smelled before is trackable, really big, floofy, crunchy, leafy smell. The amber is definitely holding on, and if I had to guess, just from like the way a lot of my amber scents behave with me, that the amber will hang on for quite a while. But there is like a kind of like jets of flame kind of quality to it, and it's the spiciness of pepper, clove, and nutmeg really help keep that kind of at the forefront. Like I can feel like it's triggering that thing where I don't necessarily want to lean in closer. Like it might actually, like I might get something in my nose. It's like a completely psychological thing. And of course, since that's not real, and this is an oil that is safely absorbing into my skin as we speak, I can get in as deep as I want and hang out for as long as I want. Has anyone ever had the pepper scents, like black pepper scents, actually trigger, again, I think psychosomatically, that black pepper reaction where you start sneezing and such? And it's not even like really an allergic reaction to like the content of the pepper so much as it is your brain being like, I have been peppered. That has happened to me a few times this past year, and I always think it's so funny. I'm like, my body is producing an allergy reaction completely pointlessly. Didn't get me this time. Also, I love people who are into black pepper scents. You're all a bunch of freaks. You want it hard. You want it as black and dusty and peppery as possible. And I helped a couple of people like that at Dragon Con recently, and it's funny because we have a limited range of stuff at Dragon Con. We don't have like quite everything. And also, you know, there are some limiteds and stuff that have been super peppery, which we don't have anymore. But like in those instances, it was hard for me to drag something up, even from our like established black pepper scents that gave them exactly what they wanted, which was like basically to hurt and be hurt. They were like asking masochistically or perhaps sadistically also in terms of their future plans. They wanted that they wanted to be that peppery. I would have loved to have this to hand over because while, again, there's always someone who wants it harder, it's really satisfying. But there's like it's like there's the aftercare with that warm glow of the amber, you know, massaging the slapped red handprint that the black pepper leaves. Nice. Okay, well, that's intermission. So everyone stretch out, rest yourself, take a break. I mean, obviously, I'm going to keep talking. I wish I had an orchestra because I love it in the old movies that actually have an intermission break. Super great. Not always convenient for today's viewings because of the overall running time. Doesn't My Fair Lady do that? I'm like, yeah, skip ahead. But it's nice to give myself a second to just like sip some water and check in with you. There are 17 people watching this right now. In my present now, future viewers, I'm talking about your past. Who are you and stuff? Who's here? Anyone want to pipe up while I don't have to smell something or read something? Aurora says, it was a double VHS thing. Oh, right, a double VHS release. Right, because sometimes things would come out on 2 videotapes. It would be like a big chunk. It would be like a shoebox full of movie, basically. The space, like you could only have so many movies because it would just take up so much space. Also, what was fun about taping movies is you could just tape over them. Hi, Melissa. I see you. I see your comment. I'm paying attention. This is water. Uh, I just thought it might look nicer in a fancy glass. And then I thought about doing something cool and seasonal, like putting green food coloring in it. But then I thought it might like turn my teeth an unseemly color, especially since I have some green light in the room. Hi, Anna. Embodying Princess Toadstool is a great username. That tells everyone everything they need to know. We have cats watching, so I guess maybe it's for the best that Disco's in his crate. I should let him out. We could do like a kind of a safe interaction. Wine glass of water is kind of giving Last Unicorn Skeleton Guy. Absolutely. Those are my aging goals. Also, it's funny because for the water, I went back and poured some more because what I aspire to water-wise, not wine-wise, is the Jodie Foster pour from the beginning of Panic Room, where she's recently divorced or whatever, and then the first night in the house, she's alone unpacking and pours herself way too big of a glass of wine, and then drinks it, and you see her in the bathtub after that, like crying. The large glass of wine seems comforting, but you will cry. With the large glass of water, I figured the main limitation it imposes is on my bladder, and we're never going to reach a place of easygoing familiarity on a YouTube live stream where I pause to urinate as quietly as possible and then come back. I will wear a diaper before it comes to that, or hopefully my phone battery would just die. Well, that's all the time we have for that. I'm gonna get through these last 5 cents as efficiently as possible to keep this as close to an hour as possible, because I like to reward people for the generosity of their attention. Even if you think I'm worth it, I assure you you're wrong. And I will just do my best to prove it to you and make sure that it doesn't come to that. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, the last 5 here are really just barn burners. We're skipping sleight of hand because we don't have it. It might be in the mailbox right now, for all I know. I checked, but I'm not entirely aware of what's happening down there. Slowly She Turned is this wonderful, you know, kind of like weird ghostly figure of a woman holding like a flaming pumpkin head. It's all, I don't know. There's a whole story here. I can't wait to read what other people think it is. The story snippet that we've included says, straining to hear, she wondered who the applause might be for. Surely not herself. Speaking purely in terms of the perfume, the applause is definitely, my applause is for that. The scent description says, flaming amber, queen mandarin rind, yellow peppercorn, scorched yellow roses, which sounds like a Lana Del Rey song, and a hint of decay. Okay, I mean, where to begin? I don't know what queen mandarin is. I see king mandarin show up often. I don't know what queen mandarin is. Should I write Beth right now and ask? The people want to know. I want to know. What's queen mandarin? She could be, I don't know what she could be anywhere right now. She could be at the vet. She could be struggling with her life. And here I am, live streaming before now 19 people. Oh my goodness, so many of you, and innumerable future viewers asking just little wonky questions about what in the world is going on with this. And I guess theoretically I could have Googled it, but she came into my world. She interrupted me. So anyway, so much of this is all me. I'm thrilled. So I feel that there are not enough perfumes, fragrances, we'll say, because candles and things include that. I think that when it comes to a fall fantasy, the range of options offered tend to be like outdoorsy or foodie or vaguely spooky, but still I feel like there aren't a lot of kind of distinctly feminine fall fantasy fragrances. You know what I'm talking about? I think that Beepal fills in this gap in lots of different ways. Like see also our entire new Carmilla collection, which I can't wait to revel in once it arrives. It's like they think that like women fantasize about food, which who doesn't? Humans eat food. Um, I feel like there's a huge miss here. Like fall florals, I think are really interesting, and we get to explore some of those. I don't see as many of them out in the world because I just don't think that mainstream fragrances think that people's fall fragrance fantasy is like a gendered situation, or they misunderstand gender to the point where they just imagine that every woman who fantasizes about fall wants to smell like a pumpkin cupcake. So this really does something interesting. I want to say that there's something about the lightness of the amber that really reminds me of the blow mold scents that we did last year, and we did one this year also. There's something about it that is, it's just like a really like clean, bright, illuminated amber, which is really intoxicating. Not, and it's like just enough of a hint of the citrus to kind of, again, dry it out a little. Not the peppercorn, not so much in the bottle, but like something about the yellow roses, like the shift in color palette for a fall rose scent has gone straight from some kind of like, funeral flower or Persephone style fantasy to something like just like openly rotting in the sunshine, which I think is really, really cool and spooky, but also this fragrance is very glamorous. So I have now thus gushed before even trying it on, but I'm gonna really get in there right now. Like do you ever have that experience when you're smelling something and you're like, I want this. I want this. And it's like, but I mean, you have it. You literally, you're experiencing it. I want it. I had that at I went to a concert the other night, and the whole time I was there, I was like, I want to be doing this. And it's like, okay, well, relax, you're doing it. No, but I want it. That's how I feel smelling this. This is how I want to feel. I can't wait to wear this like all fall. There's something about like the sunshininess of it. It's just like bright and flaming, but like it's also, there is like a gorgeously unsettling quality to it. It has kind of like, it makes me think of something that has been warped by heat or has like ripples, sun damage. It's like, it's warm and inviting and sweet, and the roses do give it this like lovely perfumey quality. It has like a gorgeous, like kind of like high feminine aspect to it, but like it's a nightmare. It's a monster. Just beautiful. And that hint of decay, I have to say, is nothing to be afraid of. I would say it's organic decay. Almost in my brain, it's giving me like old book, like phone book left on the sidewalk. That's been like rained on a dozen times, and now it was like fully dry and crispy. That's like what I think we're dealing with. Or like maybe like a leafy decay. That's what I'm sensing. Beth just laughed in response to that and might not answer. Perfect. She says, it is me taking artistic liberties with the street name for Citrus reticulata. So it's just like she took like the mandarin and like queened it up a little bit. It takes a queen to know a queen. And I'm heart reacting that so she knows that I got it in time. I love there is like, I will say that I've smelled Bee Pal's King Mandarin note in the past, and this does have like a softer edge to it. So, like true like pumpkin princess fantasy. There's like a element of like, Carrie White to this because of the artwork in my brain, where it's just like, there's like a kind of a weird regal quality, but like, and pageantry, but it's like all gonna slide. All those people are gonna die. Well, Sweet Tooth is one that I've been afraid of because the illustration is frightening. It's just like a weird, shadowy, like dark figure with like a strangely illuminated mouth full of candy corn teeth that are all sagging and broken. Again, as like a perfumer, wouldn't you just grab that one? Wouldn't you, if you were shopping through Nightmare Novella Artworks, wouldn't Sweet Tooth make it on your short list? Leaped into our cart. The story snippet says, the mouth opened and closed like an eye, like a door, like anything but a mouth. Okay, and of course the description is as wonderfully minimalist as the nightmare itself, and it says scorched candy corn and melted toffees. Whew. So I read that and I was like, yes, I want this. Yes, I want this. You smell it, and I'm like, I want this? I mean, I do, I want it, but like, it's like the nightmare part of it, like really steps forward because of course I'm always, you know, excited to offer people like the toffee and candy corn. I love the bonfire toffee main category Halloween scent, which we brought back this year. And I wore it the other night when I went to a aforementioned concert. And it was just like really nice, like faintly smoky, sweet, rich treacle toffee. This is like, it has that burned quality. And I want to say that I'm almost getting like, because of the intensity of the scorched and melt, etc., that I'm almost getting like a coffee scent in the bottle. It really has that kind of like edge of like a dark roast to it. Like the, like truly scorched candy corn. Like they have melted and bubbled and like turned black around the edges. Very interesting. So it has a it's like an unsettling gourmand in that it does smell like food that has been like mishandled or poorly prepared or abandoned. Oh my gosh. Okay, so on the skin, I'm definitely getting more of that kind of like that Halloween treat bucket smell. Because those candies do have like a plasticky corn syrupy taste to them. And there's something in this that highlights the artificiality of like the candy corn. The burning part is a little bit relaxed and it reminds me now a little more of going into like an ice cream parlor or like a candy shop where they make things where you can smell the heat of it, like the heat of the cotton candy machine and like this burning edge of it. Like you can smell the means of the preparing of the candy. And it's a little less aggressive, which is nice because I was a little nervous about how burned it was. There is just like a really lovely kind of like milky, goopy, like tar quality to this. It's like the horrible gloop monster from, I almost said Rainforest Cafe. You know, no, Fern Gully, of course. That's what I'm referencing is Fern Gully and not Rainforest Cafe. But like, why didn't that ever happen? Why didn't like those two streams ever converge? Or the horrible gloop monster from the Raggedy Ann movie. Hexus, thank you, KB, for the chats. You people just like are my fact checkers in real life. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, basically horrifying gloop monster with a good sense of humor is a whole type, a personality type, and now a fragrance type. So our smiling burnt candy corn monster has, I think, precedent in the back channels of our creative, cultural unconscious. Really, really cool twist on like what could have been a pretty rote Halloween fragrance that I figure other people are like definitely making. It's like, what if we scorch it beyond recognition and then make it smile? Ha 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 ha! Great work. Sweet Tooth. Now we're gonna go into something a little more peaceful and cozy, I think, with the Autumn Folk, which is just like a lovely little illustration of a skeleton playing a banjo with some celestial companionship in the sky overhead and around. And it says, The cord vibrated in the air between them. A connection point. Hay-dusted oak, honey mead, pumpkin rind, vetiver root, corn husk, and maple leaves. None of that sounds too scary. All of it, like, you know, this is like out of the nightmares. It's like kind of the less scary one in the presentation. The art style is unsettling, but the scene that it creates is kind of folksy, as described in the title. Well, I don't know what I expected. I'm definitely getting, in the bottle, definitely getting the mead right there. I recognize the lab's like corn husk note. Maple leaf for sure. Lightly pumpkiny, but I have to say in the bottle, I gotta get this on the skin because in the bottle, that mead is just kind of stomping all over everything. How's my, yeah, my hair is sinking. You can only do so much. Okay. I've lost track of what's clean. Okay, I'm using my tattoos like lately as like a visual marker of like where to try something. Otherwise, it's just a vast and trackless jungle. Okay. Yeah, there's like, it's like something bright, and I think it's like maybe the honey mead and hay-dusted oak situation. The hay is kind of keeping things like bright. It's like got that kind of like lovely, sweet, grassy hay note, which is like stepping forward on the skin. And that like pairs nicely with the corn husk smell, I think, because kind of similar scent vibe. Very much more, oh, beautiful like fall square dance vibes, for sure. The mead is retreating a bit, but it still smells like you're at a convivial function where people are like inebriated and finally talking to each other. I'm not getting, like, I believe that the vetiver's in there, but it's not stepping forward. It's just a kind of a lovely, like, pretend, it's like pastoral art or like cartoons like over the garden wall version of Halloween where it's like pastoral but nothing's really dirty, which is completely different from my upbringing growing up on like in farm environments in rural areas where you definitely smell the dirt. This is the fantasy. Yeah, it's like dust motes in a sunbeam, crunchy like leaves, hay bales. It's not like if it the pumpkin, yeah, pumpkin rind. I've noticed that lately whenever I smell something that smells a little more fleshy and vegetal side of the pumpkin, it'll usually say pumpkin rind in the description as opposed to like some of the spicier versions or like the cooked pumpkin. Yeah, like light, clean, dry, beautifully, beautifully unisex. I could easily imagine pretty much anyone wearing this and just getting like a nice, how many times can I say nice? That's terrible. I need a tracker. I need like an ankle bracelet that zaps me whenever I describe something as nice. What I like about this is as I'm smelling it too, it is evolving and shifting, and there's like just like a kind of a nice jostle of different things. Like when I was talking about 13 the other day and the way that it kind of changes the idea of the scene as to one that's a little more restless with more going on in it as opposed to something that just like roots you in a particular mode. And this is just kind of opening up nicely and painting a picture that I could use to fill, you know, an entire 16:9 frame with like, you know, the hay bales here and the background with the trees back over here, and then maybe the barn, and then here you've got the person with the ukulele, and there's some people chit-chatting and drinking over here. And corn husk. Here's, boop, your corn husk. Just one right there. Beautiful, beautiful. I'm gonna move on now to the Bell Witch, which is a like a horrifyingly literal illustration of a giant bell with a witch inside of it. I like a literal witch. You know, it's cool when witches and magic and horror stuff is like a metaphor for stuff, but like sometimes the Bell Witch is just a witch in a bell. And that is, for its simplicity, no less captivating in the imagination, because who is this witch in the bell and why is she in the bell? Now, granted, the Bell Witch is the name of like a historical figure who was not a witch in a bell like this in the picture. But we can do whatever we want, and I mean, for all I know, we already did a scent about the actual historical figure because that sounds like something we would do. And if we haven't, we may yet still. But it won't be called the Bell Witch because this is the Bell Witch as far as our fragrance catalog is concerned. Whether arising from mischief or malice, the calamities were undeniably linked. Rusted iron, mandrake root, burnt vetiver, and patchouli leaves. I feel like she's a great cohort to the HATMAN in this collection in terms of like, don't give a fuck, not here to make you comfortable, not here to make you smile, I am here to bother you and possibly harm you. You're welcome. I'm gonna try over on this tattoo here, which I think is clear. Oh, wow. I should have, first of all, while that settles for a sec, I didn't smell it in the bottle. There's one in the last unicorn that is like, maybe more than one, that is like an iron and ashes and wood kind of situation, and it's so interesting. Like, it really does feel like you're closed up in a confined space where you can't breathe the air. And partly that's because the scent is so foreboding that I think it, like, again, psychologically, it prevents you from wanting to breathe deeply because you're like, oh no, limits. And then you can move through that experience and like just kind of like taste the air a little bit and like dig in deeper and then begin to disambiguate the notes. But like on, this is another one that smells because of the iron and the burning and so forth. Reminds me of like a tool shop. I recognize the vetiver very clearly. This is the most vetiver forward scent I've smelled in a hot minute. And it is supported from underneath by the rusted iron, which makes it definitely like warms it up and gives it kind of like more of like a hot metal smell, but old hot metal, which I think is important to clarify. And then wonderfully about this is that there are pastoral landscape elements related to like mandrake root, patchouli. It says patchouli leaves. It doesn't say dead leaves and patchouli. It says patchouli leaves. So we're talking about like a dried herbal patchouli. And the vetiver and patchouli is doing that magic thing that those two things do together. And if you know what I'm talking about, then you probably already bought this. I'm happy to say that within a few moments on the skin, that iron element has calmed or mellowed, blended in with the others, so it's not quite like as frightening to me. There was one that I bought a long time ago. One of my first bee pals. That was, I forget what series it was even from, but it was like a vetiver and I think a grapefruit, and it had that kind of same kind of like sharp, warm, burning, grassy edge, and in that case, like this, like the sour bitterness of the citrus, like really amped it. And this is like familiar to that. It's not citrusy. I'm just, you know, I'm in a reverie. Bee pal of today conjures happy memories of bee pal yesterday, and so forth. I really like this though, and I think maybe it is the iron that is giving me like what the grapefruit was doing in that old past scent that I liked. And if I remember what that was, I will leave it in a comment just in case anyone else remembers. Time, so long ago. Cool. Yeah, what a interesting, nasty old witch. The patchouli stepping through has a kind of a weird cooling aspect. That's interesting to note. or maybe it's the rootiness of the mandrake that's just like taking it to earth and it's just kind of like more grounded. I can see this aging really, really nicely. So one more, that's it, one more, and we're gonna finish with The Treat Keeper. One of my favorite arts from this collection, just because it's like truly just like beautiful retro Halloween fantasy, but like in a strange, spectral, spooky way that like I don't think I've really ever seen quite like this. That's Drew for you. Drew, we love you. The Treat Keeper. The smile widened and the long neck bowed, offering. In the past, when we did the story contest, it was optional. You could use the line from the story snippet that came with the scent. That could be in the story. Also, elements from the description of the perfume could be in the story, and it's kind of it didn't help or hinder really. Like sometimes it was exciting to see in the judging of the story the way people creatively incorporated it. And sometimes I think maybe people thought that they had to include it or just really wanted to and like just dropped it in and it didn't really like do anything. It was not necessarily, it wasn't really a factor in the judging, but it is nice to feel like we collaborated with them on the story to an extent, to see that it was just like, because some people very much would just take the art and maybe write a story that they just wanted to write that even kind of barely incorporated the artwork. And it was just like clearly just what they wanted to write, which is not a wrong answer, but like it was truly all over the place. It was really fun, and I hope that people feel encouraged to do it again when we announce the contest this year. I feel bad because I don't know if it's that useful. We want to, obviously, we want to make people feel good, and setting up a situation where many, many people invest in something and we know that most of them will end up being disappointed is maybe like a bad marketing strategy. Giveaways and stuff where people barely do anything and then you enter, it's like, okay, well, if I lose, I don't care because I didn't do anything. But when someone actually like writes a story, creates fiction, gets invested, shares something, and then as most people will experience, because not everyone can win the contest, the like I wasn't until we got into it when I know as a writer what rejection feels like and how unfun it can be to receive it, especially from a company that you admire. So like I was mixed about still doing story contests for that reason. I didn't want people left with like a bad feeling because they really tried. And a lot of people really, really wanted it and still didn't win. And I hate basically like creating the circumstances for that feeling. It's not fun. Judging is hard for that reason, because you just know that everyone who wins or is a finalist is going to get really excited, and then pretty much everyone else who cared enough to do the contest, and in some instances to write us to check, to see when we were going to be posting about it, are not going to win. And I guess the only reason I'm saying this now is just to ease my conscience as we go into another cycle of this, where it's like, I just want everyone to participate in the spirit of fun for the season. Some people I know workshopped stories in this that they went on to submit other places, and that's really cool. Truly, you just don't know what would happen. So if you're on the fence about it, I say just write a story. Write a bad story. Don't even try that hard. Just use it as an excuse to try something that you wouldn't maybe ordinarily try. And those of you who do this kind of thing all the time, because I did hear from some people who are dedicated writers. One of our finalists said that, she had been writing for a long time and been getting a lot of rejections lately and just like wasn't even feeling like good about her writing anymore, and that like getting the affirmation of having done well in a story contest really helped. And that's like what I want to try and focus on too. I just hope that people don't take it too hard. I'm soft when it comes to that stuff. I want everyone to feel good. So with that, I'm gonna say the Tree Keeper, dried apples, sour apple mash, and molasses. Notably, in this illustration appears to contain no apples, so I was a little mystified about this. But it's not about that, is it? It's about vibe. Okay, so the sour apple really makes all the difference here. It's not just like this reminds me, first of all, I will say it reminds me of those caramel apple suckers, like the suckers that people give out for the treats. In the bottle, I'm getting that, like I'm getting bright, like sour green candy apple, probably because the sour apple plus the molasses, right? I don't know about the dried, I'm gonna have to try it on. So, okay. I'm getting some really interesting mesh marks from where the mesh was hugging my body. I'm gonna put on like a lot because I feel like my nose might be going a little dead from smelling 75 minutes. It's been an hour, 15 minutes. Okay, that's a lot. Okay, I like leaped in there, and there's something about like sour apple mash that really wants to be appreciated from a distance first. I'm like, ow. This is like a really beautifully mysterious fall apple scent, I will say. There's really something about the atmosphere of it that pairs beautifully with the artwork. It's just kind of like the idea of Halloween itself. This really, to me, on the skin smells like the way that I thought about Halloween when I was a child. It's hard to explain because that's not like an apple thing. It's vibes. There's something like there's like a darkness cast over it. Maybe it's like something about the dried apple and also like the darkness of the molasses that takes it from being like pure like candy wish fulfillment into like another direction where it's like it's about more. Using the frame. Well, that's just lovely. I really like that it preserves like the kind of that sour apple. It's like truly like a Granny Smith situation here. I'm only answering this if it's Beth. It's not. It's Brianna McGuckin, who actually I will say I had talked to about helping to judge this year's. Brianna McGuckin is a wonderful author who participated in the story contest last year. And we've talked about having her come on to help with judging because I need help. Brianna, we trust you. And then she's off the hook from writing a story because you can't write a story if you're a judge. So that's just like one less assignment. Well, this is like, okay, so it's really interesting how it's like a dried apple and like a juicy apple situation at the same time. And I really don't know how someone expresses that via fragrance, but I can tell you that it seems Beth has done it, and there are competing like apple notes that kind of braid together in this to create like an overall cumulative effect. Really beautiful, interesting, not scary fragrance. So it's nice. I actually remember earlier I said that I should have saved the HATMAN for last, but it's nice not to end with the HATMAN. I would much rather end with the Treat Keeper. I feel safe with the Treat Keeper. And it has that kind of like wonderfully glowing, mysterious Halloween quality, which I will take that spirit and I will hang on to that through the rest of the day, even though it's probably going to be like 81 degrees here in LA by 4 p.m. So, now it's time for me to let you go. We have nightmared, we have novellaed. We spoke to the creator of the scent via direct message. I want to know what people bought. I want to know what you think. I'm not really good at the YouTube side of things, so telling people to subscribe to our channel feels like an imposition and also terribly cliche because literally everyone tells you to do that. But like, please subscribe to our channel, support our effort. I need to convince my employers that this is worthwhile and doing something. I think they believe it is, but like, it would be wonderful if we had the numbers and the support to back it up. We're also, I'm managing the comments on YouTube. So if you're saying something here, you're basically saying it to me. I will see it and I will do my best to respond. And if you're looking around for reviews and suggestions, there might be people here in the comments who will help you. And also, of course, I have to do my shout out for bpal.org, the old school online web forum where people leave customer reviews about our products. And if you look up any fragrance name, like Sweet Tooth, and then if you Google Sweet Tooth BPAL, one of the first two links that comes up as a result is probably to the forum, and it will take you to wherever people are reviewing it, if reviews there be. And so, speaking of writing projects, just taking a few moments to sit with a scent and pick it apart, or just even just share a reaction to what you got. It can be very helpful to other people who are struggling to figure out what to pick and narrowing down a list, because not everyone can just like buy all the perfumes they want. It's important to get something that works for you. So if you can help people out with that, we'll be very grateful. That's kind of like how this effort of reviewing stuff online started for us, just to help people understand like what it's going to be like when you get the bottle and what it will smell like. And it's not much, but that is the kind of service that I can provide. So cheers to the Nightmare Novellas, to you. I have 23 people currently who are, it's Friday afternoon, so this probably should be wine. Maybe we'll get there later when Galen gets home from his hike. Disco says hi from the confines of his crate. My skull army. You know you've got their support. This one is the best one. It's like a hanging lamp from a chain. Just wonderful, just wonderful. You would think after 81 minutes that I would be eager to go, and I am, because it's warm in here, but this has been really lovely and I'm happy to have it done. So we'll talk later. I'm gonna get mail all week and we're gonna sniff up a storm, okay? See you later. Stop streaming, must stop.